No G with a Z, POD, Smoking Guns podcast. Welcome to the show on a lovely Eclipse Monday where nobody saw anything. I've seen a bunch of pictures of like cloudy, wispy things in front of something that might have been an eclipse, and that's about it. Not seeing a lot from my San Antonio friends. My Dallas friends are getting a little better pictures.
Okay.
But not much from the South Texas area. Some cloud cover today on this Eclipse Monday. But who cares about the eclipse? I'm tired of it. Stop talking about the sun. Leo, you're an Office person. You watch The Office.
Yes.
You remember Gabe yelling, "Stop talking about the sun." I felt like that a little bit for the past weekend because who cares about the sun? We've got football in San Antonio. We've got amazing football that happened in San Antonio over the week. Amazing football, I guess, happened in Memphis. We'll talk about it. This is a Smokin Gunz podcast. We're a podcast that deals with professional football in San Antonio. That includes the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL, the 2-0 division leading San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL. Also includes the San Antonio Gunslingers of the IFL, the Indoor Football League. 0-2, still looking for that first win, and we'll talk a little bit about how that's going here in a few minutes. My name is Philip Higginbotham. I'm one of your hosts for the next couple of hours. Sitting right next to me right there. Ha! I pointed the right way.
You got it right.
Leo. Leonardo Lamas. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you doing, Smokin Gunz posse?
We're matching. When you popped onto the screen and said, hey, one of us needs to go change.
They're like twins.
We're both wearing these very fancy Smokin Gunz podcast fan jerseys. If you don't have yours yet, that means you're not a patron of the show because all our patrons, they have them. And most of the folks that pre-ordered also have them. We have a few left. And if you're really, really missing, or if you're really, really wanting to support the Smokin Gunz podcast, you need to reach out to us at the show. You can email us at smokingunzpod, smoking OG guns with a Z, POD at gmail.com and see if we have something that will fit you in our inventory. So that's Leo on that side of me. And then just below me, you see RC. RC Woods, how you doing?
Hello, beautiful people. I missed y'all. It's been a crazy week. Very busy.
It's been a busy week. Tell me. Lots of stuff going on in and around our lives. And then, of course, the football. In the midst of all that, we had 2 games this week, both on the same day, a very busy Saturday. We have a rule. We put together a rule at the beginning of this year that what we were going to do is cover the team that we're going to see first in the upcoming week first. So that it's not always Gunslingers first. It's not always Brahmas first. We're giving everybody their due. We're switching them in and out. What that means is with the upcoming week, we have a Friday night game in Vegas for the San Antonio Gunslingers. And then Sunday afternoon here in San Antonio, the Brahmas will play against the St. Louis Battle Chickens. So we're going to cover Gunslingers first. We get to go with the Gunslingers first today. And that's only fitting. It was the home opener. They were here. We all got to walk into the Freeman Coliseum again for the first time in like 9 months, 8 months, something like that. Gather together for football. And when you walk into the Freeman Coliseum and got there to the game floor, man, how pretty was that brand new field setup? That
gorgeous.
You know what I love about it? Indoor football is one of those places where you need sponsors and you need money and you need folks to put their names on everything because you're looking for revenue streams everywhere. You know what I love about this thing? A nice, clean field. There wasn't a single sponsor on the turf.
Not on the turf.
Gunslingers. And I love it. I realize that sometimes you got to put those names on there. You got to make the money where you can. But I loved that turf and that gigantic logo right there in the center. It's pretty cool.
What size do you think it really is?
Giant logo.
Measure besides gigantic. For those who weren't there.
It was 20 yards across. Like how tall it is, I don't know. I would say maybe another. How wide is the field, Philip? Because it went barely just beyond the hashes. So
Right.
I don't hash to hash what size that is, but from width, side to side, 20 yards long. That logo is big.
I would say
right in the middle.
I want to say the width of the field is somewhere like 22 or 23 yards wide, because it's half of a football field, and I believe a football field is 53 yards. So somewhere in that 25-ish range. I think it's a little bit thinner than that. They had to follow indoor football, arena football when it first got started, had to follow hockey. It had to go with a hockey sort of perspective with the dasher boards and everything. They just kind of had to make a football field fit on a hockey rink. And so that's why you have the dimensions you have in indoor football.
Nice.
James Palmer said the only thing that would have been better would have been the W. Seeing the game live was exciting. Yeah, we're going to talk about all that.
Yep.
But let's start with what the experience was like, because it's been a while that we've gotten to walk in and experience a Gunslinger game together. The field looked great. The dasher boards looked very good. They are very professional looking all the way around. You're not talking banners slung over pads anymore. That's not what we're looking at.
No.
It looks very professional. However, they're a bit higher, aren't they, Leo?
Yes, for the short people. For the short people. Hello.
Yeah, a little bit higher. Poor Loli. She was she was there at the game with me, and the pad probably goes up to like just below her nose. So she's kind of like peeking over it, and then we're using the stools that are there with the tables, and she's standing on those to look over. And me with my bad knees, sometimes I needed the stool because I just had to sit down and give my knees a rest. So she was nice enough to do that and just kind of peek over when I needed to give my knee a little bit of relief. But yeah, they were quite a bit taller. I don't know if that was by design or accident. I kind of heard a little rumor about that, but definitely very sharp looking. Everything was very nice looking and very professional. Yep.
So it may be a little bit inside baseball, and the team may get mad at me for sharing this information. But my understanding is it was actually an accident. It was a miscommunication when the pads were ordered, and when they came in, they were higher than the boards that we have. And the only reason I tell that story, because it doesn't have any value to know that, except that they had to go around and build extensions on the walls all the way around to make those pads fit into the existing walls within a couple of days. And so those of you that have been with us since the beginning of the Gunslingers will remember late nights that the ownership had to stay up to set out the field and put up dasher boards and all of those things. That happened again. I think Jordan and some of his crew were there into the wee hours of the morning for 3 straight days, making sure all of that was ready for that game. This is not something that just happens, folks. It's not something that just occurs and just, here's a football field and dasher boards and goalposts and nets. Like, those things take time. They take people to do it, and the people that you've met on this show are the ones that are doing that. And we need to be grateful for that, because there's a lot of extra work that goes into putting this together and making this happen. And they were there. They were there. Michael Wayne Davis says that's why he was so tired. Yes.
Yeah.
I had a couple of conversations with Jordan, and he was worn out. He was ready for a nap because he had been up there very, very late. Several nights in a row, just getting the game to the point where we could play. And we've seen that before from this ownership and from previous ownership. And I think we all just need to recognize the labor of love. There's not an extra dime in this for them to do that. That is just making sure that everything is as good as they can make it for the experience, for you, for me, for the fans. And that's something we need to be thankful for.
Yep. And on the other side of those, from the fan side of those dasher boards, you could see where those there was lumber in there. You could see where they had built that up to make it higher and extend it. And I immediately saw that and realized a lot of work went into this. I didn't know who had done it, if it was, Jordan out there or a group of, people, but that's a inside story there. And not surprised at all that the team themselves, team management, the guys working so hard in the background were the ones that were out there, breaking a sweat to get that ready.
For sure.
And then also we had 2 signs on those dasher boards. So another thank you. We really appreciate what the Gunslingers do for us in the podcast. They didn't have to do that, and we have a really good location. And so again, kudos to them for always thinking of us when we don't even mention it. They just offer it.
Yeah, deep in the end zone there, 2 Smokin Gunz logos. I actually went over after the game and got my picture next to those logos.
Those are targets for the Gunslingers wide receivers.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Head for the Gunslinger, head for the Smokin Gunz logo.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the field looked great. Dasher boards look great. I loved the setup of the uprights and nets. Like, there were nets in there. Of course, they were weighted nets. We didn't have the full nets around like we had last year. Just a standard net to keep me and Ralph safe on one side. No net on the other side. It didn't look like to me.
There wasn't.
There was not. There. But we had a net keeping us safe, and I was really appreciative. It had an anchor, like an anchor for your fishing boat on each corner of it to hold it down and keep it steady. Mission Highlighter says they did a phenomenal job. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, that net, I think, was there in place just to protect you guys and the broadcast crew, because on the other side, there was no net there, but they had the John Jay Spirit group up there from John Jay High School, and they had some people up there in that section right behind the uprights, and they had a blast trying to catch the balls as they were kicked through there. So that was fun for those people that were up there in that section.
RC, what you got?
I was going to say the 6 shooters looked amazing. Their outfits look great. We have almost doubled our team. So we have 18 or 19 young ladies. I think they represented the Gunslingers tremendously and very positive role models for all the young ladies that were there attending the game. They had high energy, very professional. The dance was great, on beat, very instrumental in getting the excitement for the crowd. Kessie's doing a great job.
I agree 100%, RC. If you guys will allow me, though, we pride ourselves in being a honest podcast. We'll call a spade when we see it. We like to give props where props are due, but we'll also give constructive criticism in a positive manner when we think it's due. And on that note, with the crowd engagement during the experience, I think there was something lacking from the experience we had last year, and I had multiple fans say as much to me during the game. And the main thing that was missing, at least that was noticed, that kind of seemed to be not quite to the level that we're used to, was the music. It seemed like there was hardly any music in the entire first half, maybe the first 3 quarters. Then they finally decided to kind of put in some music, but the only type of music that was being played, at least the vast majority, I might have missed one song here or there, but it seemed to all be music for the 6 shooters. It was dance music, which the 6 shooters were dancing to, which is great. But the fans missed that, AC/DC Journey, the different, we don't want to play Don't Stop Believing, although there were some opportunities to play that towards the end. But there's lots of, fan engagement in the music that there's been in the past to get the fans kind of pumped up and excited, and we didn't have any of that this game. I understand they were super busy getting things prepared for this first game in the IFL, whole different level, lots more things that were on their list to do. But it seems like maybe that's one of the things that kind of got lower priority or kind of got forgotten about. And it was noticed by the fans. This isn't just me saying it. I'm relaying this message from multiple people that made that observation. And the main thing was like, where's the music? Right. And then there was some music at the end. And then another fan talked to me. I think he nailed it when he said, you know what? The only music they're playing is the music for the 6-shooters. It's all 6-shooters dance music. It's not crowd fun, engaging music that we're used to. And I didn't catch that. But when he said that, I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's what we're hearing. And that's all that we heard.
Right. I missed the kiss cam, the chug, the sweet.
No, I was there. One of the coolest things, anybody watches the show or interacts with the show knows I'm a big Dallas Stars fan, big hockey fan. One of the coolest things that I've noticed that the Dallas Stars do, I can't speak for everybody, it may be something everybody in the NHL does, is with fan engagement and playing a song that everybody around a certain age, around your demographic knows. Think the one that pops immediately to mind is a song called My Own Worst Enemy by Lit. And there's a moment where the music drops out, but you can't help if you know it without continuing to sing, Please Tell Me Why. And then just moving on, just going on through the song. The Dallas Stars have rules, just like all sports do, about when you can play music and when you can't. And they've gotten really good at timing the stop. They play that run up to the song to that moment, and then they pull the audio that moment, and the whole crowd, 25,000 people or whatever are in American Airlines Arena are still singing along with a song that's not there anymore. It's this great moment of fan engagement where you hear everybody. They do it a lot with Journey too. Don't Stop Believing is one of those that kind of everybody knows. It's really a cool moment. I would love to see us try to do something like that. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the music. I was busy. The whole game I was busy, and so I didn't notice that. I heard this from a couple of people, from you, Leo, but even from some others as I milled around on field that seemed to be missing. The only thing I can imagine is they had just a lot on their plate. And I think just like Mo says, maybe next game, maybe that's a plate that they will start spinning in the next game because they had so much to get ready for this game.
And also, and this definitely isn't a Gunslingers thing. This is a Freeman Coliseum thing, but maybe somebody needs to speak to them about it. The sound system was atrocious. It was terrible. And it was very good in the previous season. So something has changed or something was off. But when the PA announcer was talking, there were times you couldn't really understand what was being said. The referee, everything you heard over the sound system was really kind of muted or distorted. It was not good at all. And that's not what we're used to in Freeman Coliseum. Something changed, something was different, and it was very, very noticeable. That's not a Gunslingers thing, though. That's a Freeman Coliseum thing, but hopefully that gets addressed.
I will tell you, immediately after the game, I ran into some ownership, James, Jordan, even April, and that they were already talking about and making a list of things they wanted to nail down. Things like the clock, which was just an obvious issue all the way through the game. I've never heard a referee need to tell a clock operator to reset a clock so many times. And they're going to fix that. They're going to make sure that the scoreboard that was constantly giving us some wrong scores, but that happens from time to time. But first and 75, 15th down and 10. Like, I didn't know there were 15 downs. That's a new thing for us. Some of that kind of stuff. All of those are little first game issues. I think the sound system that you mentioned, and it was rough, is one of those first game issues. But I can tell you, I saw them. I literally noted them making a list of these things that they want to correct and be ready for in about 10 days when we're back in the Freeman Coliseum against the Tucson Sugar Skulls on Thursday night, the 18th. Is that right? Yes. On Thursday night, the 18th, that's the next home game. I expect a lot of these things to be corrected. I expect a lot of those things to be better.
Well, I know, like, usually even some fans ask, oh, are you going to be in the truck? And I was like, yeah, I talked to Jordan and I'm going to be on the truck. So end of first quarter, I start walking over there. And to my surprise, they said, oh, you don't have to get in the truck. You just run out there and throw a T-shirt. I can't do both. I can't run and then I can't throw T-shirts. So to ask me to do both, and I'm assuming it's because of the new turf, that they didn't want the trucks riding around. But if I would have had a little bit of head up, I would have like started stretching a little bit. So for next time, now I know that I have to do both. So
I don't know what the exact number, like price tag is on brand new turf, but I know that the price tag was on some of the used turf that we used over the last few years. My bet is that somebody that does the books looked at somebody else that wanted to drive a truck on that brand new turf and went, that ain't happening. No. You ain't driving a truck on that turf. It ain't going to happen.
So I'm having to practice running and throwing.
Positives and negatives as far as the off the field stuff. But when we come back here in just a few minutes, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about on the field, because I know people have some serious concerns, about things going on the field for the Gunslingers. We're going to talk about it because that's what we do. We talk about professional football in San Antonio, and that includes when things aren't going right. You're listening to the Smokin Gunz podcast. Stick with us. We're going to be back in just 1 minute. Smokin Gunz podcast, Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods. I told you we'd be right back. I told you we're coming right back. Hey, I don't know how you guys felt about the new schedule that we're using, but we loved it last week that we were able to move quickly through and handle some of these things. Mo Ferrante wants your football, RC. She's claiming your football.
I got a bruise because of this. A bruise.
So the Gunslingers take on the Northern Arizona Wranglers in the Battle of the Logo. And Leo, it's a good thing we didn't make that bet, because we lose 57-50 to Northern Arizona. And let me tell you, I've gone back and looked at stats. I've gone back and watched parts of the game and pieces of the game. We were okay. Like, everything was just fine, and we were riding just fine until about 3 minutes before the end of the half, or before halftime. 3 minutes left in the half, things started to fall off. The wheels started to fall off, and we never felt like we could get back with our feet under us. James Palmer says the offense seemed way off in the first half. I don't agree. I think the offense was kind of starting stuttery maybe a little bit, but they were accomplishing what they needed to.
They hung in there. They hung in there. They did have the one possession that it was turnover on downs, but then immediately after that they made up for it with the defensive stop and the scoop and score by my guy Zach Brown. So that kept them in it, and then they were they had their moments. But yeah, I would have to agree, Philip. I think it was right about, like you said, 3 minutes before the end of the first half. And I tell you what was killing them for me was penalties and turnovers. They seem to have some penalties at some really inopportune moments, some opportunities where they would have been in third in very long situations, and they ended up, committing a stupid penalty that gave an automatic first down and gave the Wranglers new life on the possession. And then just turnovers. I mean, you saw a couple of really not poorly thrown, but just very dangerous balls thrown by San Castronova, almost like tempting fate in a way, so to speak. where he did it once and it nearly got picked off, and he tried it again the very next play, and then it did get picked off. And we just said little things. The offense, and I agree with James Palmer in that sense, where the offense seemed a little bit out of sync at times. And we even saw it on the sideline where Castronova missed somebody open in the end zone. And this was before the scoop and score, so it ended up not mattering. But the camera caught Castronova in a bit of an argument with the coach on the sideline, not Coach Tomanas, the offensive coordinator. Fuller. Yes, Fuller. And you could just see that they were not seeing eye to eye on something. And I just get that kind of thing where this is a new team and they're growing and they're having these moments where they're still figuring some things out. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of time to kind of get on the same page.
No, I mean, we're fighting. Jay Washington says, before we talk about the game, I want to shout out the broadcast and the announcers. Yeah, they were okay. He said also the person who did the pregame prayer was great. I'm glad that he's heaping so much. I need these boosts to my ego. My ego's not big enough. And I need more.
Bigger hat.
I need more talking up.
More confidence. More confidence.
I'm actually about to upset Jay as much as I upset Jay. Jay's a pretty easygoing guy, so I think he'll good-naturedly argue with me on this. What I am seeing right now is what I would expect to see from a new team full of new players that have never played together before in a brand new league. This is growing pains. This is just kind of normal. Like, we haven't gelled. We haven't figured it out. We're new to each other. We're new to this coaching staff. We're new to this game in a way, because these are a lot of players that, even though they are professional guys, they were playing down. It's not down. They were playing over in the NAL, and now they come to the IFL. I saw a coach and a team in Northern Arizona that is very familiar with the rules and the way the IFL game is played. And they took advantage of those things at every chance they had. Whereas San Antonio is still learning some of these things and still learning each other. And so I think a lot of that has to do with just us managing our expectations as fans. Look, it was great that Coach came out in the preseason and said, we're going to win in San Diego by 30 or 40. That's how coaches are supposed to talk. If we bought into that, that's on us. That's not on Coach. That's what coaches are supposed to say. That's what they're supposed to think. We should manage our expectations a little better, and we should recognize that the first two games in the season, nobody ever won a championship in the first two games of the season. Nobody. At no point has anybody ever won the first two games in the season so handily that the rest of the league just lays down and says, okay, you guys are the champions, obviously. Like, that doesn't happen. So let's step away from the ledge a little bit and realize that this is all normal and natural. And if we will manage our expectations a little bit, I think we've got a chance at doing something solid.
When I do this, I mean, that means they're not gelling. They're not together. And that's what was real obvious. I think it was very frustrating to the fans seeing all the missed catches, the penalties, all of that just was adding up. And that's why we got a loss.
Yep. We had a situation where Zach Brown came in and they had a stop. It would have been a turnover on downs. But he came in and blitzed the quarterback, but he came from the outside instead of the inside. If he'd just gone the inside, then there's no penalty. But he went on the outside, so it's a 15-yard penalty and automatic first down. That's the type of things we're talking about. Great talent. Zach Brown is obviously an amazing player, but he's just learning those nuances. You got to go from the outside, or go from the inside, not the outside. He easily would have done that, could have done that had he been more aware of that situation. I guarantee you that's something that's going to stick in his head. Exchanges. We had the center, a high snap that went to Castronova, and then he was going to hand that. He was meant to hand that off to Kali Rashad, who was running the flat coming across on a run play. Mishandled that because of the high snap. Those are things that will get worked out over time. Like I said before, they just don't have a lot of time to get this stuff figured out.
No, they don't. Michael Wade Davis says we've played two of the best teams in the IFL. Maybe the other teams aren't playing like San Diego and Northern Arizona. Here's the problem. Here's the issue. Leo makes a great point. They don't have a lot of time to get these things figured out. Also, we're in the wrong conference, division, whatever they call it here, to have these kind of growing pains. It's hard to do that here. Jacksonville, you want to talk about a team that might be panicking right now. I don't think the Gunslingers or Gunslinger fans need to panic. Have you seen what's going on in Jacksonville right now?
Yeah.
Jacksonville hasn't had a game they've scored over 30 points. Jacksonville lost their starting quarterback for significant time, if not the season, this weekend. Jacksonville Sharks fans are freaking out right now, and they deserve to be.
They're hurting.
They're getting beat like a drum. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they're getting beat badly. They are not scoring well, and they just lost Connor Blunt, which they were all sure was the starting quarterback for things going forward. A couple of folks in here, Chase Risman, they're playing Vegas on Friday. The tough get tougher. You guys play my Vegas Nighthawks. Jersey the King says Jerome Johnson is a problem. I will tell you that, well, we're going to talk about the Vegas game in the next segment. I don't want to get into that now. I want to talk about this game here. I want to talk about that game there. So let's talk about this, but I will get to Vegas. James Palmer said, sadly, I feel Jax was this way until last season when Albany folded and they picked up some new players. That could be true.
I hope not.
Now, I want to remind everybody that Coach Tomanos has won 2 indoor championships in a row in 21 and 22. That's correct, right? Yeah, 21 and 22. In 22, I don't remember 21. I wasn't really paying attention to NAL in 21, so I don't know how that season went. But I specifically remember in 22, Albany started out rough. In fact, they came to Freeman Coliseum and might have been our first NAL win. Question mark? I know we beat them.
We did beat them. Yeah, I think you're right. I think so.
They were having a rough time. They righted the ship late in the season, got hot at the right time, won the championship in the NAL with Sam Castronova at quarterback and Tom Manas leading the team. So, let's not panic. The way you start is not always how you finish.
It's true.
Now, our offense might be one of the best in the IFL. Somebody, Alex McSwain, who's a listener and friend of the show, posted something about we might have a top 3 offense in the IFL right now. They are moving the ball, they're performing well, they're scoring. But we might have the worst defense in the IFL. And that's true too. The defense is a question mark, a big one question mark.
And they made adjustments. I mean, the first game against San Diego, they were giving up big plays and they were giving up, long passes on unfortunately on like 3rd and 4th down quite regularly, blown coverages. There wasn't so much of that this time, but what there was soft spots in the middle of the defense.
Yes. And
the Wranglers really took advantage of those soft spots over and over and over again.
So let me hopefully put some people at ease. Here's what we've seen so far. We've seen a defense get absolutely defeated. Even though the offense played a near perfect game in San Diego. Then we saw a defense that actually got better. Go back and watch the tape if you don't believe me. The defense was playing better, but an offense that did not play a near perfect game. They had some miscues. They had some fumbles. They had some penalties that set them back. They did not play as well as perfect a game as they did in that first game in San Diego. So even though the defense played better, the game looks more out of control because the offense wasn't able to perform on the same level they did in San Diego. Defense is getting better.
I was going to say the first game, they looked better, I felt. But then the second game, something was like loose. Something wasn't gelling with them.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they are still. Remember, it was a short week.
It was. I think that was a big factor.
I mean, you have to look at the fact that they were in San Diego on Monday night. They came back on Tuesday. That gives you Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday to practice and put some new things in, to work on some of the problems that you saw in San Diego on Monday. And boom, on Saturday, you're back out on the field. That's not a lot of time. Nope. And it's not an excuse, because that's the schedule you're handed. You can cry about it, but that and $4.50 will get you a cup of coffee. $4.50. What am I talking about? $7.50.
Where are you getting the cup of coffee for $4.50?
We're bad at numbers on this show. Remember that. We're not. That's not our strong suit.
You just can't complain about it, but you have to recognize that a short week meant something here. And it doesn't get any better, because they really just have a handful of days before they have to get on the road and get up to Vegas. And Vegas is playing solid. And we'll talk more about that here in a few minutes, and about the future of the team. Some guys I was really impressed with, because we don't want to just sound terrible, but some guys that were really impressive. Zach Brown looked great. Zach Brown at linebacker looked great.
Mm-hmm.
I got a message from a former Gunslingers linebacker that I love dearly. I love the guy. I think he's a great player, showing me two different plays where he's like, I would have made this play. I guess assuming that he was in that spot instead of Zach Brown, and Zach Brown didn't make the play. I can't take anything away from Zach. Zach played a great game. Just an excellent game. The other one that I was so glad to see on the field and scoring for us, he scored 3 touchdowns. Naquan Murray was a big addition this week over that first week in San Diego.
Yeah, if Naquan was able to play that first game, we might have won.
And Kali Rashad is still out there just doing Kali Rashad things. Like, just, he is that guy. And let's give credit to Coach Tom Manas, where credit is due. The idea of putting Kali Rashad way back to return, and kickers and special teams divisions looking at Kali Murray and going, we're gonna squib kick this thing short, right to Naquan Murray. Sure, go ahead, do that. Let's give Naquan Murray the ball. That's going to be a safer alternative for you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of the kicking game going the other way, though, not to turn negative again, but I just got to. TC Stevens, what's up with TC? Like, I mean, no complaints on the extra points, but where are the deuces? We know he's capable of hitting those. I mean, he's got a reputation, but man, dude made one, but on his other attempts wasn't even close. And some fans were, kind of pining for Deuce and Drew, because we're used to seeing 3-4 deuces a game, if not more.
But even Drew had times that he would come in and he'd get you 2 or 3 in a game, and then he'd go 2 or 3 games and he couldn't get them.
It's tough. I know. Yeah.
Like it happens, and we know TC Stevens is capable. We know TC Stevens is capable of kicking deuces in that building, because he did it to us last year while he was with Carolina.
That's true.
So I'm not super concerned about that. It would have been nice to have some more, but the one that he had, God, it's just such an exciting moment to watch on the kickoff, the ball pass through the uprights and go, there we go. That's points. I was very glad to see Tom Manas and his coaching staff when they had a penalty in the bank. In San Diego, they had a 15-yard penalty in the bank, and they tried an onside kick and then moved the team back 15 yards to get it. And I felt like, I don't want to do that. I want to kick for the deuce. And then they wind up on the 12-yard line if you miss it, and it's kind of like a free deuce at that point, a free shot at a deuce. This time, that's exactly what they did, and I loved it. He didn't get it, but I love the fact that they took the shot for it.
Yep.
He went for it.
There's a comment here from.
Kind of give
I'm sorry.
I want to kind of give out some shout outs to some old faces and some new ones. So for
They
sure,
were playing on the field.
Yeah, well, no, off the field. So it was Kim and Greg Nelson. They were hanging out with us with Greg's mom and dad. We had the gal pals, Heidi and Sister Diane Ludwig. They were hanging out with us. Rick Vela and his girlfriend Valeria Frausto. That's the masked man. I think today on Facebook there was 75 pictures that he took with fans. I mean, that's commitment, that you go to a game and you're willing and able to take 75 pictures with fans. That's great. A newcomer is Christy Ward. She's from, I think, the Chamber of Commerce. I saw her hanging out at the Brahmas. I saw her at the ribbon cutting, and I saw her again at the Gunslingers game. So I told her, man, she's all over the place. And then some older players, Cody Brooks, we saw him, and then Pierre Turner and his family. So it was really nice to see some new faces and some old faces.
I miss Pierre. I would have liked to see him.
He was there with his wife and I think 2 girls.
Yeah. Cool.
So not the game we wanted to see them open with. What do you got, Leo?
I wanted to address this. Wrong comment that I put up there. James Palmer said it a little while ago. He felt like we didn't see enough of Kali Rashad this game, or less of him this game. Just so you guys know, I did speak to Kali earlier in the week. He was hurting. He sustained a slight neck injury. I don't know if it's injury might be too strong of a word, but remember in that first game, he went into the wall head first and was down for a little bit. So he was working on that over the week, but he said, I promise you, I'll be ready for the game. But I have a feeling that kind of, maybe save him up a little bit. Also, when you got receivers like Nyquan Murray, who this was his first game out, and DJ Myers, I mean, why not, make sure you're not overusing a guy like Kali Rashad. So I don't have any complaints there, but I understand where you're coming from with that, James.
And also, I forgot Jay Washington was hanging out with us too.
Yeah, sure was. Well, not the game they wanted to have, not the game we wanted to open the home schedule on and open up this IFL season on. We're still looking for our first win, and that's what we want to talk about when we come back in just a second. We're going to take a quick break. We're not going to be gone very long. Don't you go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we see in the future, maybe what we need to see some changes in, and the upcoming games. We got 2 tough ones. Things don't get any easier with going out to Vegas and then welcoming in the Sugar Skulls here in about 10 days. We'll be back to talk all about that on the Smokin Gunz podcast. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Smokin Gunz podcast. Philip Higualam, Leo Yamas, R.C. Woods, talking about the Gunslingers and their 57-50 loss to Northern Arizona. Okay, San Diego's done. Northern Arizona's done. We need to look forward. We need to look at what's coming up, and it doesn't get any easier. We were just talking about this. We've got Vegas on Friday night, and then the following Thursday night, we have Tucson coming into the Freeman Coliseum. What are some things, Leo, that you think you're wanting to see? We can all say we want to see them play better on defense. That's very broad. That doesn't really answer any questions. What are some things that you're hoping to see out of this Gunslingers team here in these next couple of games?
Well, 2 things, and it starts and ends up front. The offensive line needs to give Castronova a little bit more time. I mean, it's a fast-paced game. You're not used to seeing quarterbacks, taking 3, 4, 5-step drops and having multiple seconds, 5, 6 seconds to pick apart a play. But there's been times where as soon as he receives a snap, he's getting guys right up in his face, and I think that has a lot to do with the disruption in timing. So I want to see better offensive line play. And on the defense, I want to see them getting more pressure on the opposing quarterbacks because those guys have really had, great games against San Antonio so far. And yeah, you can you can point at the defensive backfield, you can point at the cornerbacks and safeties and say, they're getting burned. But the quarterbacks for the opposing teams are also having they're getting the time that they need where we're not getting the time we do. So that's first and foremost what I want to see.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head here of getting pressure on the quarterback. Look, if you leave a quarterback in the backfield for 3, 4, 5 seconds in this league, they're going to find the open receiver. There is an open receiver on almost every play. It's just there. And I know that Tom Manas is a defensive guy, and I know specifically getting to the quarterback is something he prides himself and his defenses on. Coach, unleash it. Let's figure out what it is. There's not a lot you can do in this league. They're really, really particular about twists and stunts, where you can bring pressure and where you can't, how many guys you can do it with, all of those things. So you have to get really creative. And I know that it's not for lack of trying, but let's try something else. And if it has to be on the edge of the rules, let's do it, because we're getting hit with penalties anyway. We're getting hit with big passes and big plays over the middle anyway. So if my defensive secondary has to sell out to try to get a turnover, which is something that I feel like we're not seeing enough of. We're not seeing enough turnovers generated by the Gunslingers defense. If my guy has to sell out to try to jump a route and he gets beat, well, we're seeing that anyway. So maybe it's a difference in mentality of, okay, guys, try to jump the route every once in a while. Not every play, but choose your spots and try to jump those routes and see if we can wind up in the right position and just, do things. Take the outside path to the quarterback around. It's legal, but it's right there on the edge of legal. You have to be within the box that is set at pre-snap to be able to get to the quarterback around the edge. Okay, let's go around the edge, and maybe if you take a step outside and you get called for a penalty, well, crap. We tried something. We got some pressure on the quarterback. It didn't work out for us. But maybe we need to play, instead of inside the rules, maybe we need to play on the edges of the rules. Some of the best pitchers in baseball don't pitch over the plate. They pitch on the edges of the plate. And so maybe we need to start doing some of that and see how that
I want to see 3 things. Less penalties, more deuces, and I want them to be more aggressive. I think aggressive is one key that I don't see a lot. I see spurts of it, but I want them to be more aggressive. So those are my 3 things.
More aggressive in the passing game. I think, RC, I agree with you 100%.
So I've seen a lot of conversation about the running game. Why are we running so much? We sure run a lot. Look, there is something we have to talk about with the running game because it's not working.
Not really, no.
Whatever the scheme or whatever the mentality is, the plan is for the running game, it's not working. I think we need to go back to the drawing board. And Coach, I'm not telling you how to do your job, and I don't expect you to take this way. You already know that. You're watching the film and you see it. But whatever the scheme is, the overarching theory that is determining our play, it's not working. Maybe we need a new one.
Use my Sharpie to change it up.
Well,
sure.
Well, that goes right into the line play that I was talking about. That goes hand in hand, not just the pass protection, but the run game as well. Making those holes for those running backs to run through, giving them a little bit of space, because it seems like more often than not with the run game, I mean, just the same as Castronova, having guys right in his face right after the snap. It's the same thing with the running backs, and it's tough. It's tough sledding down there.
It seems that our running game, for the most part, is a very straight up, very no-nonsense running game. We are going to hand off. We don't care if you know that we're going to hand off. And we expect our running back to find the empty space, the hole, and run through it. It's a very standard sort of...
very predictable.
No, I wouldn't call it that. Well, maybe I would. I would say it's just a no frills kind of running game. There's no misdirection. There's no counters in it. There's none of that going on. Maybe we need some misdirection. Maybe we need some option looks and some things going a couple of different directions. One of the greatest running attacks of all time in high school football is this wing T or slot T offense that gets run by high schools all the time, where you have three different guys coming out of the backfield in three different directions, and any one of them could have the ball. And so it's very hard to stop because ultimately you have to commit enough defensive manpower to stop three different possible running backs each time. And that's very hard to do. Maybe we need to look at something like that. And again, I'm not the coach. I'm not telling coach how to do his job. I'm just hoping to see something that's more effective because the running game we have right now is not effective.
Maybe a trick play?
I don't like trick plays. I'm not a big fan. Like, they're fun if you sprinkle them in very, very lightly into your game plan. They're fun and they could do something. But, man, I do not want to see Ted Lasso's playbook where everything is a trick play. And that's how we're going to make our offense. No, I don't want to see that at all. Jay Washington says wing T and indoor football. I like it. Yeah, some sort of triple option sort of thing could be fun. James Palmer says trick plays can hurt you if you're not executing right, and that's true.
That's true.
Yep.
I just say we need to change something up. We need to change it up.
Now, go ahead, Leo.
I was just going to say, I also agree with Jason Wood and his comment here that we need Castronova to run less. We don't need him hurt. I mean, he's led the team in rushing, I think, both games. Maybe not the second game, but for sure the first game. But I think both. He had 4 rushing touchdowns last week. But yeah, definitely you want to see him run less, I think. But that's where they've had the most success. So I think that's why they've kind of just ridden with that. But yeah, you're taking a huge risk.
So they go up to Vegas to play the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks are 2-0. And before you start shaking in your boots and you're like, oh, 2-0, we're going to get absolutely destroyed.
No.
They beat Arizona. Arizona's a solid football team. They beat Arizona by 2 points. It was kind of a surprise win. Their other win, their most recent win before their bye week last week, was a 39-33 victory over the Jacksonville Sharks. Do you think you can beat a team? Do you think you can beat a team that can only score 40 points against the Jacksonville Sharks? You scored 61 against San Diego. So, yes, I understand. You look at the way they're trending right now, and Vegas is trending up, and San Antonio is trending down, and everybody looks at it and goes, oh, Vegas is going to absolutely kill this team. Are they?
No.
Are they?
I don't think so.
I hope not. Certainly hope not.
I see a real possibility here. Look, I'm not taking anything away from Vegas. Wins are wins. Mm-hmm. But Jacksonville looks rough right now, and they were only able to manage 40 points against Jacksonville. So if that's the case, if your offense can click like it was, and your defense does not have to shut everybody down, I think we're very spoiled in San Antonio, especially when the Gunslingers, when it comes to defense. And we want to see that shutdown defense that we kind of got used to for a couple of seasons that was just really, really good at shutting down or getting you the ball back. What's up, Zach? We were talking about you a few minutes ago.
We were.
I think
we did the mom-to-mom interview with his mom.
We did.
Go back and check it out.
I really believe that you don't have to shut them down on every single play. You have to shut them down on about 10 or 20% more plays than you are right now. And you win games. I think with our offense, if the defensive production comes up by just a tick, you'll start winning games. We are not seeing this gigantic cast. We're not getting beat 57-23. Somebody said, the game was 57-23. Nope. It was 57-50. I can show you the scorebook. I don't care that they pulled Jones and put in their second string quarterback. If they wanted to win by 70, they could have, is what you're saying, and they just didn't want to. I don't believe that's true. I think that we're right on the edge. of seeing good things happen. And if the defense gets just a handful of plays, one more turnover, 2 more turnovers on downs, I think we're really close here.
A little more fire in their belly, like Zach Brown here. I mean, Zach plays with fire. Zach plays mean. We need a little bit more of that on defense.
We need more Zachs.
Well, there's only one Zach Brown. Actually, there's 2 of them. There's one in the country music world, and then there's our Zach Brown. Or maybe they're the same person. Are they the same person?
I'll take our Zach Brown in a fight any day. I take him.
Me too.
I'm picking RZB.
For sure. No, I don't expect. And look, you need to understand, San Antonio Gunslingers fans, that Tom Manas, his coaching staff, and guys like Zach Brown on the defense, they are not hanging their head and going, "Oh, we're so bad, we're not going to ever be able to improve." No, they're coming back. They're watching film and they're going, "Okay, how do we fix it? We see there's a problem. We see that we're getting beat more than we want to. Let's fix it." So this isn't, just like we were talking about earlier, how you start is not how you finish.
True.
This isn't who we're locked into being. We don't have to be this team all year. We get to be better. We get to get better, and that's going to happen. And it may happen on Friday night in Vegas. How much of a surprise would it be to the IFL world if San Antonio, 0-2 San Antonio, walks into Vegas and walks out of the Lee family, what are they calling it now? The Lee Family Forum. It's no longer the Dollar Loan Sitter. I don't know if you knew that or not. But they're walking out of the Lee Family Forum with a win. How much is the IFL going to sit back and go, wait a second, San Antonio is something?
They figured something out.
And once they figure that out once and they can replicate it with the offense that we're already putting out there, there's not anybody can stop them. Jason Wood checking in says, yeah, let's do it. Jason brought up a great point earlier today, and I actually reached out with his information, with his comment to the team, and I wanted to give everybody kind of an update as we wrap up Gunslinger talk here and move on to Brahmas talk in the next hour. Jason Wood was very excited about the game and about our show. He's a newcomer to both, and he said, hey, one problem I have, one issue I have, and it's an issue Leo and RC we've had before. He said, I don't like that we're booing over the microphone in the Freeman Coliseum. Whoever's doing that, well, stadium announcer, hype guy, whoever it is. I don't like it. Now, we've talked about this before, Leo. We've brought up that we don't really think it's the right way to go either.
It ain't Texan.
I took that comment in its entirety and I sent it over to the Gunslingers organization and just said, hey, just so you know, this is what some of our fans are saying. Want you to know about that. I immediately got a response back that the team has emailed both of those guys, the hype guy and the stadium announcer, and says, we're not doing that anymore. Cut it out. No blame, nobody's getting in trouble, no problems. Just, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. That's not what we want for our team, for our crew, for our home crowd. So that's going to stop, or that has been directed to stop. And that is because, a fan noticed and got the information out to somebody. This time it was to us. But you can often go straight to the Gunslingers with issues and find them on social media. But the fans said something, and the Gunslingers are listening to the fans. That doesn't happen other places. You got a problem with what the Dallas Cowboys are doing? Try to tell Jerry.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Give that a shot.
Yeah. Try that. See how that works out. Believe me, I've done it. It doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, great stuff. And the Gunslingers organization has always shown that, they've got a hand on the pulse of their fan base, of the city of San Antonio. And I'm really glad to hear that update. Because it's not Texan, especially South Texas. That's not the way That's not the way we do things down here. Now, we've talked about it, and I'll bring it up again, Philip. We said it before. There's nothing wrong with you see something egregious on the field that a ref missed or something, and you urge the fan base and say, let them know what you think, guys or fans.
Right.
And the fans take it on themselves to let them know what you think. That's perfectly okay. But to lead with the boo, that's different.
Yeah.
On Friday night, when the San Antonio Gunslingers are in Vegas, we might all not be able to go up to Vegas to be a part of that game. But if we wanted to gather together and be together for that game, RC, where are the Gunslingers putting together the watch party?
The Gunslingers are going to have a watch party at Main Event West. The location is 8514 off of 151 and 410. The game is going to start, at 9:05 p.m. So it's going to be a late night for the partiers. So take a nap. I'm going to take a nap like around 6 or 7, get ready and go to the watch party. So again, Main Event West, which is off of 151 and 410. It's going to be starting at 9:05. Usually you get there like an hour earlier, get some snacks, very family friendly. So I think last time we had a really good turnout. I want a better turnout. Be sure to bring your cowbells. And one thing that I'm going to bring are these beautiful earrings that Pamela Rackler gave to me at the game on that I was there, because I wore the pink and the black jersey, and these are the matching ones. So thank you so much to them. They're always thinking of us and finding the little things that really make a difference. So thank you to the Rackler family on that. But yes, I'm hoping to see everybody there. Now, I know I've been kind of showing off this football that hit me on the leg. Now, I want to do a trick play. Like I see the football players, how they spin the ball on one hand. I want someone to show me how to do that. So any offers out there, maybe you guys can come to the watch party on Friday and show me how you like the Globetrotter things. You want me to throw it to you, Philip? Is that what you want?
No, I got you. I'm going to teach you how to do it right now. You spin it on one finger. Boom. There it is.
Is that how you do it? You get a ball. Let me see how you do it.
Simple.
Get your ball and show me.
Here. Don't have a football here. So, but yeah, you just spin it and one finger. It's easy.
Leo, can you give me some better advice than that?
No, I've never spun a football on my hand, so I from experience I cannot add to this conversation.
I feel like the quarterbacks, they just spin it on one hand. I don't know how they do that. But that's my goal this season, is by the end of the season to be able to twirl this football. So anyone can show me. Just let me know. Hopefully you go to watch game. Friday. This Friday, main event. Off of 151 and 410. Bring your cowbells, bring your earrings, bring your jerseys. I know they're going to sell merch. We had at least 30 people. Let's see if we can double that, make it 60. And beat the Vegas.
Vegas. We're going to beat the Vegas. That's the way you say it. All right, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch into Brahma mode because the San Antonio Brahmas played on Saturday as well, and we got lots to talk about that particular game. Stick with us for another few minutes. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they didn't choke Philip. That's
you.
Boat
choking right now, Philip.
I am dying right now because I had a little bit of nerd gummy cluster go down the wrong pipe, and I am absolutely dying right now. So I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Brahmas. Stick with us. Smokin Gunz Podcast. We'll be right back right after this. Smokin Gunz Podcast, Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, Artsy Woods, talking about San Antonio pro football with you. We covered the Gunslingers. We talked about all that meant. Now it's time to switch gear. The earlier game on Saturday, the San Antonio Brahmas headed up to the Memphis Showboats. Mm-hmm. And Leo, it didn't look good. It didn't look good for a few minutes there.
It didn't look good for more than a few minutes. It didn't look good for 3 quarters, 3.5.
Yeah.
But man, you gotta love the UFL, and you know, I'm jumping ahead of us, but there were lots of people upset after the game, and all I had to say was welcome to what it felt for us last year. So yeah, pretty cool stuff we're gonna talk about.
So an interesting game in that Memphis looked like they were dominating, but could not manage to do anything but kick field goals. They got 1 touchdown in the whole game. Everything else, every other point they scored was on field goals.
Yeah, the defense kept them in it. It was like, it reminded me a lot of my Denver Broncos. I mean, bend but don't break defense, and just hope that your offense wakes up and does something. Russell Wilson back there decides to actually, you know, play like the Russ of old. That's what it's felt like the last couple of years, and that Brahmas game was just like that. The defense really kept them in it until the offense and Chase Garber. I mean, I don't want to put any blame on Chase Garbers. It's almost like maybe they let the reins loose on the guy, and he just came through for the team. But yeah, the defense was solid the whole game, and thank goodness for that, because they had the team within striking distance all the way to the end, despite the fact of how poorly the offensive play. I think they had something like 14 yards at the half. I think it was 14 total offensive yards at halftime.
Wow. Well, I know a lot of people had already posted on Facebook that the Brahmas had lost, and they didn't realize that the last 4 minutes, that's when we came back.
I will tell you that we're going to have to see a better rushing attack. We just talked about the Gunslingers and how they're not running well. Well, the Brahmas aren't running the ball very well either. 36 total yards in rushing for the Brahmas.
Well, I got to give credit to the Steamboats defense as well. I mean, you were kind of wondering in the first week what we saw with that Steamboats and Roughnecks game, because it was so ugly. But now I'm convinced that it was just 2 defenses really going at it in that game, because when you look at the first game against DC, that rushing attack was solid. McFarland was amazing. I just think the Steamboats defense was really prepared to shut down that run game. And I mean, they shut down everything that first half, really. But I'll give credit where credit's due.
Garber had 287 passing yards. He did have 1 interception and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he was pretty solid quarterback.
Oh yeah. Garber's
had a better day, as far as I'm concerned. He had a much better day than Cookus did.
Yes.
Cookus played okay. 1 touchdown, but he only completed 55% of his passes. Chase Garber had 73% completion. I think Garber's looked a lot better.
Definitely. Very point.
Look, Chase Garbers, I am so impressed with this guy, what I've seen of him. I mean, I'm just going to say there was a moment in the fourth quarter where they're driving down the field, and, you know, I love the access that the UFL has where we can hear what's going on, a lot what's being said between coaches and players. They have these guys mic'd up, but you could hear between one play where the offensive coordinator, AJ Smith, I believe it was AJ Smith, that was yelling at him after a play because of something he thought he missed. And Chase Garber's yells right now. It's not like you want your quarterback yelling at your coaches, but he yells back at him and he says, there was a blitzer. It's like, it would have been a sack. And Chase Garber saw what he saw and very smartly just got rid of the ball and went on to the next play. I love that. I love that about him. Now, we saw that last year with our quarterbacks, you know, getting rid of the ball, but that's different. This is a scenario where he's playing with his head, but he also understands the fact that he could be aggressive in the next play or go something with the next play. Chase Garber's won that game for us. That's what I'm trying to say. He won that game for us. He took over the game. They put it on his shoulders. They let him loose. and he made the plays when he needed to, and very smartly didn't make the mistakes that would have kept us from being in position to win that game.
Now, I noticed that Memphis's defense was ready for this sideline to sideline AJ Smith kind of offense where he likes to try to get the ball out. We talked about this a little bit last week. Trying to get that ball out to your playmakers in space on the outside somewhere. Memphis was ready for that. Like, they were not going to let you throw a quick wide receiver screen out in the flat. They weren't going to let that happen and let you get yards out of that. They were all over that.
Yeah,
they had done their homework on the Memphis coaching staff and knew what they wanted to stop, what they wanted to take away from San Antonio.
They really did. I mean, and we talked about that a little bit, Philip, where it was like they're trying to get, these little screen plays and passes out to the side, get your playmakers in space, but the linebacking core of the Steamboats was fast and aggressive, and they're sure tacklers. It was just not there. That when they made their comeback was going vertical. It was Garbers making plays, moving out of the pocket with his feet and making passes down the field like he's capable of. So it's really great to have a quarterback that is multifaceted like that. He can play that type of game, or he can throw the ball on a dime and be accurate with it. Chase Garbers isn't going to be in the UFL for long. He's going to be in the NFL again soon. He deserves a shot. The guy has impressed the heck out of me in these last 2 games.
For sure.
Yeah, and just a super exciting fourth quarter comeback to be down by 16 at the end of the third quarter and outscore the other team 20-3.
Yep.
To come back and win the game with 3 seconds left on a touchdown pass to Cody Latimer. Told you he was going to be an impact guy, and sure enough, Cody Latimer is the one that draws in the touchdown pass that wins. And I'll tell you what I love about this. This situation. We have seen the San Antonio Brahmas win a game wire to wire, basically. They beat DC the whole game. They just dominated them, beat them the whole time. Even in the third quarter where things slowed down for the Brahmas, they were never at any point out of control. They won that game wire to wire. They were in control of that game from beginning to end. To come out of the very next game and have almost exactly the opposite thing happen, where you are not in control at all for any part of the game until the last 3 seconds of the game and still get a win. I like our chances right now. I like the team that's on our field right now. They have won games both ways. They've won by dominating, and they've won by being scrappy and making chicken salad out of chicken spit.
Oh my, that's a visual.
They've done both. I love the resiliency. I love the adversity, the way they handled the adversity. I saw some of that from the Gunslingers too. The Gunslingers were done in that game. And they kept battling. They kept trying. They kept fighting. Even at the very end, when a touchdown is not going to win the game, they were scoring the final touchdown, the Gunslingers. They were going to make sure they got in the end zone one more time. And I saw that from the Brahmas. I see a team that's not going to give up or pack it in. They're going to fight all the way to the final whistle, and I love that.
So on the Brahmas, the main thing was like that 4th and 12. That was really the main
love it
plan. You know what I mean? Without doing another play or anything like that. That was the key for them winning the game, I feel.
Yeah, right to Jonte Kirkland, which I have to stress, like with Chase Garbers, Jonte Kirkland, and Cody Latimer, and that defense, which kept them in this game and played solid both games, the Brahmas really have a chance to win every game. Jonte Kirkland might be the best wide receiver in the UFL. I mean, if you go by what you've seen the first 2 weeks, the guy is a weapon. Cody Latimer is a beast. And so Chase Garbers has the talent and he's got the targets. the defense is going to keep them in, games like this where they're just having issues getting things together. And then, not to be so positive all the time, we got to bring up negative stuff. But the main thing with the Gunslingers, they were killing themselves. I mean, not to take anything against what the Steamboats were doing, because they had a great game plan and they were executing. But the Gunslingers the Brahmas were committing stupid penalties at the most inopportune times. That's the one thing. If I have to take a concern away from this game, it's the discipline of the players. I got a feeling the coaching staff is going to right that. They're going to correct that. But I was very surprised to see so many dumb penalties, and penalties even after the play, not even during the play. And man, did it hurt them multiple times.
6 first downs given to the Showboats, which Leo keeps calling the Steamboats, and I love it. 6 first downs given to them on penalty.
Well,
just hand it.
Yep.
You didn't earn this. Here you go. You can have it.
Keep the ball. Yep.
No, I don't know if I should talk about this now, but I know I have one of the ejections during that game with one of our players, but I was going to talk about that at our bullfit. Should I leave it till then, or should I bring it up now?
Well, you already brought it up. Go for it.
All right. Well, number 11, he got ejected for punching. So Tarvante Beckett, he got ejected because he punched Jaron Jones. And I talked about that last week, that that one player spit on one of our players. And then this game, we have one of our players punching another guy. I mean, that just needs to stop. I mean, all those penalties hurt the team. He got ejected, and I don't see why there's players still doing that kind of stuff. It's just unsportsmanship-like.
I'm not excusing Beckett. You don't do that. You hurt your team. It was definitely a frustration, out of frustration. The defense had been doing everything they could to keep the team in the game. The offense wasn't contributing at the time that he got ejected. It was, they were losing. They were angry.
Right.
The guy was holding on him by the jersey. He punched down to release his grip off of him. And then if he had just stopped there, he's good. But he threw the second punch at the guy's body to push him away. And you just can't do that in football. You don't do that. I agree 100%. The guy that spit on the Brahmas player, he's no longer with the DC.
Right, he got released.
He was released. So that's what that kind of activity will get you. I'm sure that it's not going to be that severe with Beckett. But you're right. I can understand why he did it, but you got to be smarter than that.
Exactly. And I know it was out of frustration because we were losing.
12 penalties, 123 yards given to the Steamboats. Just not a good look. You're lucky to win a game when you give them that much in first downs, yardage, that many penalties. You're lucky that you were able to find a way to win the game, which kudos to you for winning the game. But on the other side, like, you made this harder than it has to be. You were Michael Scott in the moment, and you said, I'm going to make this way harder than it needs to be. You did exactly that by giving up.
So I think
all the
Marquise
penalties.
Stevenson also did a touchdown too, besides Cody, right? It was Marquise Stevenson, Cody, Latimer, and who was the other person that made the touchdown?
Kirkland,
that's it.
John Trey Kirkland.
Yep.
Yeah,
Solid
those
players.
are your three touchdown winner, third touchdown scorers for the Gunslingers. Chase Garber's three passing touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns, hardly any rushing yards. Great job punting by Brad Wing. Brad Wing was the star of the Brahmas last year as the punter. I hope he's not the star of our team this year, but he's still solid, and he's still doing everything that he's supposed to do.
Very solid.
That interview also Mom to Mom last week.
Yeah,
check those out.
So lots of good stuff. Some stuff that's not so good. We will come back in just a minute, and we'll start talking about the next game. The next game is right here on Sunday afternoon. against the Battle Chickens, St. Louis. And we'll talk all about what we expect to see in that game and what we've got going on for pregame and all of those kind of things when we come back. Stick with us. Smokin Gunz Podcast. We'll be right back right after this. Smokin Gunz Podcast, Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, R.C. Woods. Talking about Brahmas football, a great win last week.
Mm-hmm.
Now we get to move on to another great win. Hey, 2-0, leading the XFL division conference, whatever they call it, conference, I think is what they're calling it. Only one other undefeated team out there, Birmingham, the Stallions, are undefeated over in the USFL. And we get to see our old friends, our good old friends, the Battle Chickens, come into the I almost said Freeman Coliseum. That would be a fun game. To watch 11 on 11 in the Freeman Coliseum would be interesting. Alamo Dome. And here's my thing. We've got to just absolutely destroy these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. I don't know that we will.
They ruined our season last year in the first game.
Yeah.
That first game, I'm thoroughly convinced that everything changes. Everything is different about the Brahmas season last year if we hold on and beat the Battlehawks in that first game. I think everything changes, much like a butterfly effect throughout the entire season. I think everything changes if we hold on and win that game. They ruined our season last year in game one.
You have more confidence in that offensive line of last year than I do. Then.
but they have more confidence, and so they play completely differently. It changes everything last year if they just hold on and win that game. Instead, those folks from St. Louis just couldn't leave well enough alone, and they had to come into our house and take away our first win in the XFL, and we need to pay them back. And when I say pay them back, stomp them into the ground.
Oh my gosh.
They can have their 40,000 people in the dome in that ridiculous little thing they call the dome. Fine. You've got lots of fans. That's wonderful. We are better at where it counts, and that's football. Stomp them into the ground. Yes.
I hope so.
Stomp.
Well, I was going to say, I understand, but the one thing and the number that you brought up, 40,317 was their attendance at this game.
Good for them.
So
great for
just
them.
to give some more numbers, Memphis, they had 8,791. Michigan had 7,475. DC had 15,052. So I think the big thing with St. Louis is the fan base, and I know kudos to our group from Horns Forward who actually went. Horns Forward went to the other game, but I know that Enoch and Desiree Rodriguez went all the way to St. Louis to represent San Antonio. So we have great fans here, but man, those fans in St. Louis. And how many do you think are actually going to come to this game?
Oh, I can't even venture a guess.
Can't speculate, but hopefully more than last week. I think it will be more. Not that last week was a terrible number, because it really wasn't. We were at about 14,000, I think.
Yeah.
On Easter
I expect
Sunday.
on an Easter Sunday. I expect it to be higher this week. How much higher is the unknown. I hope it's a lot higher, but we shall see. I definitely could tell you that we're going to be into it and loud, though, as a crowd.
Tickets are buy one, get one free. And speaking of our friends at Horns Forward, I could hear them on the broadcast because when Memphis got the ball, they got the ball deep in their own side of the field. They're setting up, and I'm hearing calls of defense from a pretty loud group. And it occurs to me, that is not Memphis crowd. That is San Antonio folks. Yep. That was those guys from the Horns Forward podcast and their group, making some noise for the Brahmas in Memphis. Way to go, guys. All the way to Memphis.
Jackie,
that is not a...
It was Jackie, Jason, Jorge, Brahma, Babe. The Horns Forward podcast, they really represented. So kudos to you. And thank you for showing up because we did it. We did it.
Jay Washington says, I hear Battlehawk tastes like chicken. We're going to find out because that's what we got to do. We need to just absolutely destroy them. This needs to be one of those dominated games from beginning to end, demoralizing, hurt their feelings, beat them so bad you hurt their feelings. Because they hurt my feelings last year. I want to hurt their feelings this year.
It's payback time.
Very personal for Philip. Very personal.
Bring some salsa and barbecue sauce to the tailgate so we can eat some of that Battlehawk chicken, the battle chicken.
Look, I'm not going to say I cried on the way home from that game last year. I'm not going to say that out loud because I think that's a little crazy. Crying on the way home from a football game, the first game of the season, not even like a championship game or like crying. I'm not going to say that. There's
no crying in football.
But I'm going to say they hurt my feelings. They hurt me. They hurt me in a special way last year with that last minute ridiculousness to win that game. Probably very much like the Memphis fans feel right now.
Right.
Show us on the drawing where the Battlehawks hurt you, Philip.
Here's my Sharpie. Here's my Sharpie.
What was it, 18-12? I can show you the score, man. I can show you the score.
It was my fault because remember, I went to the restroom thinking they had won the game. And it really is my fault.
I remember. You better take it easy on the sodas and the drinks or, catheter. I don't know. Somewhere or another, you better do not leave to go to the bathroom late in the game. That's all I'm saying.
No restroom break for me.
No. So the Battlehawks are coming in. That game is, what time is that game, Leo? I know that you're tracking.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock on Sunday.
That's right. Because I'm still on the fence about whether I finish up service and like jump in the car and rush. It is a 3-hour drive from where I am to the Alamo Dome. I could get there like just in time to walk in for the game. And I haven't brought it up to the wife yet.
You're not going to announce that game?
Let me tell you how you can make that happen, Philip. I've already thought this through. I forgot to tell you I had an idea for you.
We're here to help you.
Okay.
Yeah. We can all pitch in. We can ask guys, followers of the show, if you want to pitch in, we'll pitch in and we'll make a life-size printout of Philip Higginbotham in suit and tie or however it is you dress for your sermon. We'll put it up there. The collar. Put it up there. You can leave earlier than you normally would. Replace yourself with the cardboard stand-up, the life-size stand-up, and then put a speaker. And you can deliver your sermon while you're driving to San Antonio in the car. And you just put the speaker on the pulpit right in front of the cardboard standout. You leave and you drive to San Antonio to come see the Brahmas game, and you can deliver your sermon en route to the Alamo Dome. I see no problem with that whatsoever. Let's do it. With the biggest problem with that is creating the stand-up. It takes a little bit of cash, but I think we can work that out.
It's an interesting idea. Part of me wonders what message you're leaving folks when the football game is more important than worship on Sunday. For the pastor, that might be problematic. That might be a problematic way to deal with that. Actually, I know for a fact I can't make it to that game. We have a big fundraiser plate sale that we are doing right after service. And I'm expected to be around and be available for that and shake hands and do that kind of thing. So I'm actually not going to make it up for this one. I was really kind of hoping, and then they put that fundraiser on this day, and I was like, yeah, okay, well,
I get it.
Is what
I get it. But to your point earlier, Philip, let me ask you a question. You're a huge football fan. If another huge football fan told you, Philip Higginbotham, I love you almost as much as I love football, would you take offense to that?
No.
Well, that's the message you're giving to the people. You're putting the cardboard up there. You're putting the thing. You're going through the trouble of being partially there, and you're saying, I love you guys almost as much as I love football. That's a heck of a lot.
It's the message that's most important, not your body.
Sure. Yes. Correct.
We're the little devils on the shoulder right now.
I know,
right? You guys are going to talk me into this, and then I'm going to get back on Sunday night late, and everything's going to be moved out of the parsonage. My family's going to be sitting on the curb and going, they had a meeting after you left, and we don't live here anymore. I'm excited for the game. I wish I could make it up for that one. It's just one of those things. It just doesn't seem to work out. I am committed to Gunslingers games because of my requirements. These aren't lining up. These Brahmas games are not lining up right for me to make the drive and get up there. But I'm going to get up there for some. I know I am. I just have to miss this one too, it looks like.
So they have to consult with your schedule first for next season.
Yeah. Well, I tried to get them to do that this year. I sent a message to the XFL, and I'm like, here would be my preferred Brahmas schedule. I never received any kind of response. Can you believe that?
Darn it. I hate when that happens.
It's very weird.
Yeah, my emails for the media passes got on that same lost trail.
Oh, yeah. The Battle Chickens, the Battle Hawks are 0-2. Is that correct?
I think they're 1-1. They pulled out the win. Yeah. They pulled out the win the second week. Hey, they're really close to being 2-0, remember, because it took a 64-yard field goal twice to get them the loss in the first game.
Right.
So we can't be too confident.
Jason Wood says, GoFundMe for a private jet for Philip. I would not be the first pastor to do a GoFundMe for a private jet. And that's a sad state of pastors in America right there, that I would not be the first or most ridiculous one to get a private jet. You're right. They beat the Arlington Renegades. The poor Renegades are 0-2.
Yeah.
Not having a great start to the season.
Hey, but that's the same as last year, so don't count them out.
Not much has changed.
So in a way, I mean, if you look at the math, this game is for first place in the XFL conference. Because if we were to lose to the Battle Hawks, they would be 2-1 and we would be 2-1, and they would have the head-to-head. They would jump us for first place in the XFL. I don't want to give up the XFL conference. I want to lead this thing from wire to wire, so we cannot allow them to, even for a week, jump above us and take this away from us, especially not after they devastated me so badly last year. Do it for me, Brahmas. Do it for me. Don't worry about your families or the city of San Antonio. All of that is, what you normally play for. But this week, do it for me.
We need a GoFundMe page for Philip's bigger hats. That's what we need.
We need a big sign at the game that has a big picture of Philip's head with a tear coming down and say, "Do it for Philip Higginbotham."
A big head of me.
Which sounds like
maybe they'll put that on the big jumbotrons up there, the screens. They could put that big Philip head with a tear. So do it for me.
Game is on ABC. I think that's kind of cool. We get to be on the big network, not just ESPN. We're on ABC. Anybody with a TV can see this game, not just the ones with the it doesn't hurt to try it. The Battle Chicken's about to be 1-2, says Mo Ferrante. I agree. I think that we can win this game. I know that we can win this game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Chase Garbers looks great. Kirkland and Latimer, just excellent. And that defense, what's interesting about that defense, the defense played really well, and they had to play without one of their lead guys, without Scott for most of the game. He got injured. Right?
Yeah, Delonte Scott. Yep.
Yeah, Delonte Scott ended up with an injury, and he's a big part of that.
Big part of the pass rush, and also 55, the center, that he left the game early too. So hopefully those guys are healthy for next game.
Well, their quarterback, AJ McCarron, he's pretty good though.
Oh, he is. He's going to be a concern.
He's going to be some competition there.
He hasn't faced a defense like the Brahmas this year, I don't think.
Alex McSwain checking in for my lunch break for work. Hi, Alex. We talked about you earlier, sir.
We did.
We mentioned you earlier in your supposition that we were a top 3 offense in the IFL and the worst defense in the IFL. And we all are pretty much in agreement with that. That sounds about right. Unfortunately, I would say that sounds about right. So the Brahmas, RC, what do we got going on tailgating wise? You putting anything together this week?
Well, kind of same like last game. We're in Lot C, right? I can post the map again on Facebook. We're closer towards the tunnel going into the Alamo Dome. For whatever reason, we only have 2 hours of tailgating. I know UTSA has 5, and there's been lots of controversy over that. Last year, we had a lot more time to tailgate. We just don't have that 2 hours. So I'm going to get there around 10:30 and 11. We're still doing the cans for the food drive. I know my plethora of 42. We're going to double that to ginormous. And we're definitely going to have a welcome basket for the Battle Hawks. So come look for us. And that's about it. Just get there early because we have to party quick. And get every drum roll, please. I will be providing shots. They're coming back. The RC shots are coming back. So they're strong and potent. Let me tell you, we only got 2 hours to party this time.
Potent.
I'm going to make the best of it.
Yeah,
so
that 2 hour thing.
Shot for you.
2 hour thing makes me sad.
It does make me sad.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit. It kind of takes a little of the fun out of it. Hey, speaking of St. Louis folks and welcoming them in, are we going to know any people coming down from St. Louis for this game?
Well, I invited Jared Jones-Smith out to dinner like we did last year, so I'm waiting on that. But I'm hoping like Amanda comes, Dirty comes.
Yeah, I was wondering if the B-Hawk Live crew was coming down.
Yeah, I think earlier in the season or earlier in the preseason when we were talking, podcast to podcast or video cast, and amongst some of us, Dirty said they were not going to be able to make the trip this time around, unfortunately. So, but I have no doubts we'll see some Battlehawk fan. They travel well as a fan base, and we'll be here to greet them and give them good food and those gift baskets that RC's talking about when they come down.
Let's be nicer to Battlehawk fans than apparently Battlehawk fans are to Battlehawk fans.
I heard it was a little rough for Desiree when she went up there this past weekend. She had a rough time. So
and Enoch,
her to be respectful, and Enoch, and we're just here trying to promote the league, people. That's all we're trying to do. Don't take it personal. We're just trying to promote the league. We're trying to show unity. And where that message got lost, that you feel like you have to be rude to other people and disrespectful, is really uncalled for.
That goes for all the fan bases.
Yes,
for sure.
We shouldn't be seeing that.
We were hearing that Enoch and Desiree were getting heckled pretty bad. In fact, some pretty
aggressive
and egregious things being yelled at them from Battlehawks fans while they were up in St. Louis. I've got to imagine that our San Antonio fan base on a whole, there's always those people out there. You're always going to have a group of those people out there. But on a whole, I feel like if somebody in a DC Defenders shirt walked through the tailgate this Sunday, that our fan base would be like, hey, awesome. I love Jordan Teamu. Come have a shot with me. Come try this fajita. I got to think that we would be much more welcoming than apparently the folks up in St. Louis are.
Come on over here. Let me show you why I'm fat.
Right.
Oh my.
You will understand when you have one bite of whatever it is we're eating.
So we'll be in the corner in Lot C by BWO. We'll be here, Smokin Gunz Podcast, the Brahma Mamas. the bullpen. On the other end is going to be Brahma Babe, and the other corner closer to Cherry Street is going to be the Horns Forward podcast. And the reason we're doing this little map is so that fans and people can walk around, and we're not all in just one group. We want to get to know each other. We're a family here. So I'll post the map again on Smokin Gunz Podcast, also in Brahma Mamas. And again, we're just trying to promote unity, the team, the league, and community service.
Well, it's going to be a great time. We're excited about Sunday. We're excited about more Brahmas football. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's going to be everybody's favorite segment. It's Bull, Spit, and Bullseye. What was your favorite part of the week in San Antonio's professional football? And what was not? What was your bullseye? And what was your bull spit? We'll be right back after this. Stick with us, Smokin Gunz Podcast. Hang in there. Smokin Gunz Podcast, full of Peekaboo, Leo Yamas, R.C. Woods. Well, there you go. We've taken you all the way through the whole Saturday from beginning to end. Leo, if we really look at it, San Antonio Pro Football went 1-1 this weekend. Yep. We had one loss and one win. But if you break things down into quarters, it's like 2-6. There were like 2 decent quarters of football in there. And like 6 rough ones to get through.
You're not wrong.
So let's do better. Let's get better next week.
We do better.
We got the Gunslingers. We got the Gunslingers on Friday going to Vegas to take on the Nighthawks. That game is a late game. Starts at 9:05 our time. And
take a nap, people. Take a nap.
On Sunday at 2 p.m. in the Alamo Dome, the Brahmas will take on the Battlehawks. But now we get to go into our new favorite segment, our new favorite thing to do. It is Bull, Spit, and Bullseye. The Bull Spit is the stuff that you could just leave behind. You could have enough of. We never need to see that again. The worst part of the weekend in San Antonio professional football. And then the Bullseye is just, where did it go right? Where were things exactly where they should be? Start chiming in the comments with your bull spit, with your bullseyes, and we'll start. I think, Leo, we started with you last time. I want to start with RC this time. RC, tell me what your bull spit and bullseye were for the week.
Okay, I'll start with bullseye. I love that 4th and 12 option. That was the best for me. I loved it. My bull spit, I kind of already talked about it, was Travante Beckett, number 11, when he got ejected for the punch. Didn't appreciate that. But overall, there's room for improvement. So I love it. Love football in San Antonio.
Absolutely. Leo, how about you? Bull spit, bullseye, what do you got?
Okay, I'm going to go on a rant with my bull spit.
Oh, no. Here we go.
This is one that I feel right here, and I think lots of people need to hear it. But my bull spit is all the hate that's been going around concerning just everything. The USFL is better than the XFL, and these games are proving it. The teams in the XFL sucks. Look at the fan bases. They're not showing up and this and that. With all your criticisms that we see online and all the different Facebook groups and the team groups and everything, the stuff we touched on earlier with certain people in the fan bases being nasty to people from others because they had the nerve to come and visit their city and spend money there and try and have a good time and show support for their city for a little bit. All that crap, just stop. That's my bull spit. The hate needs to stop. You shouldn't wear this shirt on your podcast when you're talking about this subject or talking about these people. Just stop. We're football fans. We love football. We love being able to watch football in the spring when when before that wasn't an opportunity. We had to wait in the terribly long off season. The only thing we had to look forward to was the NFL draft, which is coming up, by the way, and I'm excited about. But just stop with all the crap of hating on everybody else because you don't think this is right or you don't think that is right. Let people have fun. Let people love the sport. Let people love their city, their team, and show support and however they choose to. as long as they're not offending anybody, you know, being offensive or being ugly, being respectful, then just quit that bull spit right now. That's my bull spit.
All right, what's your bullseye?
My bullseye is the San Antonio fan base, the San Antonio Brahmas with the awesome win, and then going into the Gunslingers game. We didn't get the win, but the San Antonio fan base that was there, we were loud, we were proud. Even when we were down, we were ringing our bells, we were being loud and supporting the team. You could hear it on the broadcast how loud it was in there, and I loved it. I love that atmosphere, and we need more of it. We need more people coming out, and that's definitely my bullseye for the weekend, and I can't wait to see more of that.
Excellent. Got some folks checking in. Jay Washington says his bull spit, gunslinger hype man, telling the crowd to get loud when we're on offense. We've got to get this figured out one day. We've got to figure out when to make noise and when to not. We got to do better. And then he says the Gunslingers attendance. Come on, fans. This Austin guy is disappointed. Yeah, he drove all the way down from Austin, and let's face it, the crowd in the Freeman Coliseum was paltry. It was a lot smaller than what I would have expected. You got to do better, Gunslinger fan. Get your friends, get your family, get everybody you know out there. Look at the investment that this organization is making in our community by bringing this team here and doing everything they've done, building Gunslinger Nation, brand new field, brand new dasher pads, putting on a great show for us. Let's reward that by showing up, putting our butts in the seats, and cheering on this organization. Could not agree more. Jay Washington said it's bullseye. The new Smokin Gunz podcast jerseys. I love them. If you love them, you can get one. We'll talk about how to get one in just a minute. He also says the Brahmas comeback, seeing Leo and RC at the game, the Gunslingers broadcast. Yay, go Ralph. Field and crowd noise, the overall atmosphere. I agree. Mo Ferrante, another one of our patrons, says, Bullspit, come on, Brahmas. Keep that same energy every quarter.
That's true. Yes.
And that's related to her bullseye. Way to come back for the win, Brahmas, but no more heart attacks. Also, the great field setup for the Gunslingers. Keep it up, Gunslingers. Bring it next game. Alex McSwain saying his bullseye was Kali Rashad emerging as a top receiver in a new league. And the bullspit is all the personal fouls on our Gunslingers defense. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. It was rough. Bullseye from Lolis Yamas. Bullseye Kali is still the man. And that's the truth.
Yep.
That is the truth. Missions Highlighter says Bullspit, a lot of haters that say neither the Brahmas nor the Gunslingers count. They count. They don't count as real football. It counts. I made the comment a couple of months ago that we need a lot less gatekeepers in this world. If you don't like it, that's okay. But when you start telling other people that their experience is less because you don't like it, that's on you. That's wrong on you. You are the wrong person in that conversation. Stop gatekeeping everybody else's experience. If they want to go watch indoor football, if they want to go watch spring football, you don't get to stand up there and go, it's not real football. It's not the NFL. Are you kidding? The NFL is not even the NFL anymore. The NFL is not the NFL I grew up with. I still love it. I still enjoy it. But let's be fair. It's not the same game it once was. So if we start playing that game, there is no real football anymore. And we can't do any of this. So
to add to that comment that it doesn't count, during the halftime at the Gunslingers, they announced and brought on all players of the week. Tell them that doesn't count. They're looking forward to this. They're looking at it as an opportunity. And you're going to tell them that doesn't count? So shame on you to those people who say this football doesn't count. It's not the NFL, and we all know that. But this could be the dream for one of those high school kids. Their goal is to play on the Gunslingers. Their goal is to play on the Brahmas. And you're going to come and tell other people that doesn't count? Shame on you. Shame on you.
My
Agreed.
own personal bullseye is a comeback so good and so amazing that on a 3-hour drive from Palacios, Texas to San Antonio to call the Gunslingers game, I had to pull over on the side of the road and watch the last drive the Brahmas had live because I was keeping track of the score, but I couldn't watch the game. And I had not set up my Sirius yet, so I wasn't even listening. But as I watched the score and I realized how close things were getting, I had to pull over to the side of the road to watch that final drive live and watch Cody Latimer score the touchdown for the 1-point win with 3 seconds left. There are not a lot of things in life that can cause me, of all people, to pull over on a road trip and say, hey, I'm going to take some time and stop. My kids and my wife drive me crazy because you know what they have to do on road trips? They have to stop to go to the bathroom. Come on, push through. Let's get where we're going so we can get there. I don't want to stop for anything, but I stop.
Tacos. You'll stop for tacos, right?
Stop for tacos. If I'm hungry, and I'm always hungry, so yes, I will stop for tacos.
Brahmas and tacos.
That was my bullseye, my bull spit. This is just a personal thing. But when you see folks doing their job, whatever that job is, leave them the heck alone and let them do their job. I got so many people during the game on Saturday night that attempted to have full conversations with me and Ralph Judkins while we were trying to call the game, both over text and thank you. If you're one of those that texted me with a comment about the game or whatever, I appreciate that you're watching, but I can't do anything about the scoreboard. I'm in the middle of calling the game. I can't get that information to the right person. And those people don't bother me. Like the phone is my thing. I can ignore it. I cannot. But the folks that will come up as you're watching a play develop and do this and try to get your attention to tell you something, leave people alone when they're trying to work, man. Leave people alone. The distractions were crazy. I have not gone back and listened to the broadcast yet, but I know there are a bunch of Philip sentences that start and then just stop and ellipsis out, and you never hear how I was going to finish that sentence because somebody was doing this number. Hey, it says 17th down up there. Yeah, I know that. Yes, I'm aware. I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of trying to keep my thoughts together and call this game.
Well,
Alex McSwain says we're just too popular.
Yes.
Do what?
I said kudos to you for doing such a great job.
Yeah.
We did it. It'll get better. We found ways to limit the distractions. I think there were 3 guys, and I'm not mad at them anymore. I was mad at them at the time, but 3 college-age guys that were helping us with the broadcast that at one point decided they would stand right in front of us to watch the game. And we're both on live mics and can't say, move out of the way. So we're like throwing pieces of paper at them and trying to get them to move out of the way. It's not an easy job. Anybody out there, everybody out there who listens to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman and Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, and they go, oh, these guys suck. No, they don't. Those guys are really, really good. And you know how I know that? Because I've called football games, and it's not as easy as you think it is. Everybody thinks they can do this job. It's a lot tougher than you think it is. I'm not very good at it. I'm good enough. I'm just good enough to get it done. Those guys, they deserve the positions they're in. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, those guys are good. Those guys are really good at their job. And they have a lot more help than we do, but they're really good at doing it. So, yeah, let people do their job. Let people enjoy the game and do their job. Please, please, please. Alex McSwain says, you guys are still in the end zone, right? We are.
Yes, that's a tough vantage point.
It's not as bad as the Rose Palace where we were hanging out over the field. That was always kind of interesting. But it's still a tough place to call games from. It is a little awkward, a little different. We've got some great binoculars that we use to call the other end of the field. Any other bullseye out there? Let us know. But I think that pretty much wraps up the weekend. Get ready for another one. We got 2 more games this weekend. They're spaced out a little better for you. Not 2 in one day. You actually have a whole day of rest between the Gunslingers on Friday night and the Brahmas on Saturday afternoon.
Take a nap on Friday before you go out there because it's going to be a late night.
Masked Man of San Antonio says the Gunslingers tried to make a comeback, but it was too late. That defense needs some serious work. We talked about that a little bit earlier. It needs work. It needs to get about 10 or 15% better, and then I think we're going to be able to win games. I really do. Jay Washington, glad we had that net for protection during the broadcast. It's nice to not have to dodge the football when there's kicks. It's a nice thing.
We got a couple of minutes. I want to ask a question.
Okay.
We talked about how enthusiastic the crowd was in Freeman Coliseum and how much we loved that. What did we think about the number of fans that were there? I'm curious. I know what I thought, but I want to know. I want to know what the rest of y'all think.
It should have been better.
San Antonio's got to do better.
Should have been higher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
San Antonio's got to do better. Yeah. I don't know what they can attribute that to either, because I see Gunslinger stuff everywhere. They're doing great jobs with season ticket sales and individual ticket sales. They're doing promotions. They're doing everything they can do. We've just got to get the word out more. We got to drag more people along.
Yes. Tell more people, bring them along.
We got to do our part.
Yeah, because it was a Saturday night and the Brahmas were out of town. So I really expected a larger crowd. I was proud of the crowd that was there, though.
Texas Valero Open. College football, lots of stuff on TV to watch. Texas Valero Open was in town. I could make excuses, but ultimately there's always going to be excuses. There's always going to be stuff that we could say, well, this was going on. It's San Antonio. There's stuff going on, man. This has to be one of those things that starts dragging people away from other things instead of the other way around. We're the Smokin Gunz podcast. We are a podcast that deals with football in San Antonio, professional football in San Antonio. We are brought to you by some amazing patrons, some folks that have decided to jump on board and support our show financially. Folks like Texas Pete, Alfred Rodriguez, who's been on with us as the mission highlighter, James Palmer, Jay Washington, Jordan Stubing, James Stubing, Kim and Greg Nelson, and Mo and Iris Ferrante. They are great folks that have committed to help us make the show go and pay the few little bills that we have as a show and make sure we can stay on the air. If you want to be a part of that group, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/SmokinGunzPod. That's Smokin' No G, Guns with a Z, P-O-D, and you can join at a $5, $10, or $20 level each month. I am a patron for a couple of different podcasts personally. And these folks are patrons of ours. Good point. Colts fan Mo, air horns. I need one of those. I've heard that you do not. I've heard that air horns are going to be phased out of the experience there at Freeman. Nothing official yet, but I would expect a announcement to come pretty soon that air horns may be phased out of some fans that were around air horns. The reason for it, I think, is some of the fans around air horns, it hurt their experience. And we don't want to hurt anybody's experience in the thing. I don't have a personal problem with it, but I don't have, my toddler sitting right next to a person with a battery-powered air horn. I could see how that could be problematic. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can email us at smokingunzpod@gmail.com. That's Smokin' No G, Guns with a Z, P-O-D. All of our social medias are Smokin Gunz Pod, the same way. No G on the Smokin, Guns with a Z, P-O-D. And we can connect throughout the week. We had several folks reach out to us. You see our beautiful new Smokin Gunz jerseys that 2 of the 3 of us are wearing tonight. We have a very small, very limited number of 2024 Smokin Gunz podcast fan jerseys. If you would like to be one of the people sporting one of these awesome jerseys, you can do that. They're $45. If we have one in your size, they're $45 reach out to us on the email. That's smokingunspod@gmail.com. And we will take care of you and make sure you can get a hold of yours. And if your name is Victor Ramirez and you ordered 2 jerseys, we have them, and we've attempted to reach out to you via email. You've paid for them. Leo is trying to get a hold of you so he can get those to you. So if you're listening live or later, make sure you contact us so we can set up a time to get you your jerseys. What else, guys?
Well, I know on Wednesday, Central Time, 8 p.m., I'm going to be doing a show on the Fuel Network it's called the A-Team and RC. It's with Amanda and Amber, and we're going to be talking females in sports.
Excellent. Excellent. That's on the Fuel Network. Hey, speaking of the Fuel Network, download that on your Roku or Fire Stick TV so that you can keep up with all the great shows that are part of the Fuel Network. Smokin Gunz Podcast is one of those, but there's another. There is a whole host of wonderful shows that play just on a loop. You can just set up your channel to run live, and you can keep up with all
night long
the great content there. Missions Highlighter says, I got one of those Smokin Gunz Podcast fan jerseys, but wore my Gunslingers blackout threads for the eclipse today. That makes sense.
I saw that. Thank you.
That makes perfect sense. Well, when it comes to football, wherever it is played, professional football, whether it is over in Arizona or out in San Diego, down in Florida in Jacksonville, or all the way up in D.C. or Massachusetts, when it comes to football, professional football, the 210 has got something to say.
Bang, bang.
All right. Thanks, folks, so much for hanging out with us. Those of you that are still with us, keep rolling with those Spit and Bullseye things. I like doing that as the last segment because we do all the talking and then we talk about that at the end. But if we keep dropping so many listeners throughout the thing, that's such a cool fan interaction thing that maybe we want to move that up. But I don't know.
That's a good idea. I don't know.
It could be like a halftime thing.
That might be an idea. That might be a way to go.
And I don't have to run, and I don't have to throw anything, so that's good.
Jay Washington says his arm still hurts from the cowbell. Well, yeah, it's like 14 pounds of cowbell, man. No wonder.
Well, that was a heavy,
That was a huge one. Huge cowbell.
He hung out with us in the party zone area, and yeah, that cowbell is heavy and significant amount of noise. I'm a little sad about the air horns, but I understand it.
Yeah,
I definitely don't like making all the noise while we're on offense, though. And the air horns were blowing while we were on offense inexplicably.
Right.
Gonna have to. Good night, y'all.
CRC. All right, folks. Please make sure you. Alex McSwain, could people submit their bullseye or bullspit before the podcast?
Yeah. Send us a message.
We're all over social media. We'll get them, and we'll try to get them all on the show, even if you're not able to check in with us live. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Thank you for checking in with us. Thank you for spending time with us, and get ready for Friday night. Try to make it out to the watch party if you can. And then Sunday there in the Alamo Dome. So many of you will be there. If I could find a way, I'm not saying it's 100% that I won't make it happen, but it's like 80%. That I'll be stuck here, but who knows? Maybe I can finagle something and try to get out there for the game. So Jason Wood will be there. I enjoyed you spending some time with us tonight, Jason, and I've enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks for hanging out with us and finding the show. Welcome to the Smokin Gunz Posse, as we like to call it.
Yep.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. Make sure you download the show on your podcatcher of choice. I use Spotify, but you may use Apple. Also, like us, subscribe to us, rate us, review us, all of those things. It just helps. It helps us get the show into the hands of more people. Thank you so much, folks. We enjoyed spending time with you. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.